Okay, so hi everyone. This is another session of ECP test consolidation project. Frazin is not in. Daniel is going to present the approach that they have in the mobile team, and he'll explain more, so I will be quiet. Go ahead, Daniel.
Oh, sorry, I'm just going to send the link to Shiroz. 1 second. Sorry about that. Okay, so can you see my screen okay? Everything all right?
Yes.
Full screen? It's working? Sort of. Okay. So I used the template from DCOM, so in case you're seeing that, wondering what it says that. So my presentation is testing using Cucumber, Calabash, and screen objects. I'm going to try to pitch a basic approach to testing versus the actual implementation that I used with the languages and stuff like that, because all that is actually replaceable using this approach. You can choose whatever framework that underlies to interact with your application that you like, and Cucumber is just basically what allows you to run the tests using whatever tools that you find the most appropriate for your project. So getting into it, basically Cucumber is very widely used. It's over the last, since 2008, it's got like 1,000 forks and 224 releases. It's a tool that runs automated tests using English language. Because they're written in plain language, they could be read by anyone or written by almost anyone on your team. It doesn't always have to require that they are automated. You can have a combination of manual and automated tests using this type of approach. And Calabash is what we use to interact with our mobile applications. It's just basically what taps the emulators, swipes, etc. And that's the lower level version, framework that we use. So Cucumber, lots of support, like I was saying, lots of languages. My implementation is in Ruby, since it grew out of the Ruby on Rails community originally. So it was originally done in Ruby, but since then it's been ported to a lot of other languages, including Java, JavaScript, and you can see these are from the official sites. But even the ones that are, there's probably even more that aren't mentioned here, I'm sure. And on top of that, it integrates with some familiar things like Selenium and WebDrivers. There's different things that here you can use Cucumber with. So that's from the official site. So for our project specifically, because this is one of the questions on the list, I counted them up, and we have 130 unit tests on Android, and these are written by the developers with 60 UI, run by Cucumber and Calabash, and on iOS we have 110 and 40 UI, and we just run them with some simple commands this way. These are the UI tests and automated, the unit tests. So our UI tests are interacting with emulators, which are running on our build agents, and also locally if we want to just develop the tests. They're written in Ruby. And Cucumber executes the human language tests that are written by both myself and our documentation. Our technical writer also helps out for running manual tests and etc. And these Cucumber translates the human readable sentences into executable code. And it's run basically very simply. It's just a Cucumber command with the profile that you want to run. The way that Cucumber approaches testing is it has a testing stack, and your project consists of a business-facing and a technology-facing components, set of components. You have your features, which is what is written in English, or what actually it supports other language like Japanese or Swedish if you want, so it doesn't really matter what the actual tests are written like. And those are built into scenarios, and scenarios, every sentence is considered a step. And a step is linked to step definitions, which translate how you want to actually do the sentence that you're describing. And that, in turn, is linked to the code that runs that step definition and your automation library, which interacts with your application. which in our case is Calabash. And in the middle, there's basically a simpler version of that. It's just so step features, which are written in Gherkin. Gherkin is the human language stuff, so like English, whatever. And step definitions is what's, so anyways, it's simple. And in the end, your project looks something like you see on the right with the configuration, folder, features folder, and then you have your step definitions, which is this mirroring what the structure of the whole stack is. So moving on, this is what a simple scenario looks like. It has some tags, and it has a description of the scenario, and these are the Gherkin format, which is given, when, then, and. The steps are written like that. So it should supposedly be like a story. You want to tell like what's the acceptance criteria of the feature that you want to test is. So you write it out, and all these sentences are reusable in other tests. So if you make one once and you think it's useful in other places, you can actually just take out that little sentence and put it in, or rearrange the whole thing to make an entirely new test. So that's just an overview of what it looks like. So for our stack, this is, I tried to simplify everything onto one screen, so sorry about the confusion here, but so the features are what we just saw in the previous slides. So that's the actual scenario being run, and then like for instance, then I see the carts is one of the sentences, the steps, and it gets defined in a step definition file. And this is Ruby code. In my code, I have a global object called app, and then all the other screen objects are inherited, are accessible through that object. So the cart screen is one class. I have other screens, and in every class, I have different methods that I can use to interact with that specific screen. So I never have to refer to actual IDs or anything like that within the step definitions. I always try to get it so that it's sort of abstracted this way. And then and then further down, I have the support code with the screen objects. So for a wait checkout button, for instance, it's defined as follows with wait for the element, the checkout button to appear. And this is where I get into the IDs of the actual elements on the screen. And the wait for elements, in turn, is using the Calabash, which is what is actually able to interact with the emulator, connecting through your code to the running device. So it actually be an emulator, or it could actually be a physical device connected to your machine through like a USB cable or something like that. And Calabash is, so these are some examples, wait for and exists. These are some things that it's calling. So there's a series of abstractions that are useful, because then you don't have to change it everywhere when something, like let's say even Calabash can change the way that it interacts with your, or like a new version comes out, if it changes the way that it does something, then you just have to change it in one place because you've wrapped it in your own method. Okay, so that's that. These are just to show you some cool stuff about this. So the tags are really nice because you can filter what you want to run based on what the tags of the test are. And the way that we use our tags is that we describe the vertical, because in mobile we have several verticals, B2B and now B2C, and potentially more in the future. And we can write a test per vertical. And in Jira, when we have a story, we can create a test and tag it with the story number. So later, if we can look, if there's a regression, like, oh, I thought we tested that, let's look up the Jira number, and we can look back into the code which tests refer to that Jira in the past, and we can just track history that way. And you could also have the components, and if you feel like a test is very important that should be passing all the time, you could tag it with smoke, and then we can run the smoke tests like more often than the whole series of tests. And in addition to the tags, Cucumber has the ability to run profiles. So if you have different conditions for different scenarios, like let's say your CI runs a different series of tests and you would want to run on every commit locally, you can do that. You just create them yourself, and then you just is as if you were passing the parameters to the Cucumber command yourself, but you can just, it's just a shortcut. So that's a little few examples there on the right. And Cucumber is nice because it has HTML reports with screenshots embedded, JUnit outputs, lots of formatters that are available out of the box with Cucumber. And since I know you guys like Java, I just wanted to show you that it's possible to do the same thing in Java. So the feature, I just got this off of the Cucumber website. So it has like an example given I'm on the Google search page, and then that sentence is matched to the step definition below, and it just goes to google.com. And you can replace this with whatever I guess you can replace it with Selenium instead of WebDriver. So whatever you want, right? This is all replaceable stuff. A question was asked in one of our earlier sessions of the value of having yet another level of code, like human readable code. And I think the value is that not only if not everybody on your team is at the same level, it allows them a natural progression path to get to that level. So for instance, our technical writer has been helping me write manual tests in the same repository alongside my automated tests just by tagging with the word manual next to the test. And then I exclude those from my automated tests. And over time, we can migrate those to automated tests. And it helps work get done and record the test in the repository, even though there was no time to actually get that automated in the first place because maybe I didn't have enough time. So the testing skill of, let's say, a non-developer can write gherkins features, which is the human stuff, readable language. And if you want to better design your test, your support code and automation library, developer can get into there. And so there's a nice progression between both ends of the spectrum using this abstraction. And not only that, like a person who can reuse existing steps to create their own automated tests if the steps themselves are modular enough. So if they can be mixed and matched into a new test, then that's nice actually, because you can create a new test just like that in a matter of seconds. Okay, and at its core, Cucumber is trying to solve the problem of ubiquitous language among the software development, because it feels that as a philosophy that the communication gets lost from the idea, the concept of a software idea to the actual implementation along the line. And using the same language from start to finish to describe your feature and acceptance criteria, and then translating that into the test itself is a way to get around that lack of communication. And it's supposed to reduce misunderstandings, etc. I mean, this is their philosophy. So they spent a few years trying to get this right. And what's really nice about Cucumber is a few good things, is that you get good communication. And Cucumber as a tool has already thought about the approach of testing a lot. Like this is the goal of the tool is to solve a testing problem for any type of team. And it's already been done, and we just plug in the stuff that we need. We don't have to maintain the actual tool itself. Cucumber is obviously run by like a team itself. We don't have to like actively participate in the maintenance of it. And like I mentioned, tests can be written by non-developers. We can have manual tests. We can have a hybrid of some steps are already automated and some steps are not. Or we can have completely automated tests. So it's a nice mix if you don't have enough time to do 100% automation of everything. There are some problems, obviously, with any approach. So there's possible to have flickering scenarios that are due to like some timing. This exists even in my project, which is something that needs to be addressed. Maybe sometimes you keep breaking tests unintentionally. These are like called brittle features. And sometimes it takes too long to run. Maybe you have too many or too much coverage. You need to reduce what you actually do. and the stakeholders don't read our features. This is if the people that you want to communicate with are not actually interested in the actual testing, then that's an issue also. I think these are actually not specific to Cucumber entirely, but they are something that I've come across myself. So there's solutions with these. You just have to try to work on them. There's some suggestions in the actual book that describes this this tool, the Cucumber book, and if you're interested, I would suggest taking a read. Some links, and that's it for my presentation. I could start showing you some actual code, but I could also answer some questions if there's some to begin with. I don't know what the better approach is.
Do you know how long it would take to show the demo?
Not very long.
Okay.
I could show you. Can you see my screen all right?
Yes.
Okay. So this is just I'm just showing a few files. This is RubyMine. It's so it understands Cucumber completely, and it allows you to run tests within the window, etc. My whole project is Ruby based, so I don't need anything else. But you could use IntelliJ. It also has if you wanted to write tests in Ruby, there's plugins, etc. So this is the profile file, is a Cucumber YML file, and this is where you define your profiles and the strings that you want to run. So for CI, for instance, I have an output with JUnit output for my test, or a report, HTML. This is something you can whatever you want, right? You can have different profiles for people that are running it. So we have different people on our team so we use different email addresses, so we don't step on we don't destroy each other's carts when we're working, etc. And I'll just show you an actual feature file. So this is the structure of my folder. It lives alongside the Android code. This is Calabash, and the checkout features. So this is right here. What it is, what it looks like. It's just English, and I could show you. So each one of these sentences are steps, and these are abstract enough so that we don't have to. We just describe a story essentially, and each one of these is defined by a step definition in checkout steps, which is here. I just show you right here, and as I tried to again abstract the execution of the step using screen objects, and this is what you can see here. So I have my main object, which has access to all the classes, and the checkout screen is what I'm working with, the class I'm working with, and there's different methods that I execute in sequence to do. And not only that, if you notice that I have the same sentence 3 times, I just have a different parameter. And that's what you see here. So if I have a cost center, delivery address, delivery method, so you can reuse quite easily what you are doing this way. And I just want to go deeper here. So let's select cost center spinner, for instance, in my checkout screen class. So it's down here somewhere. It's right here. So this is an action, and then this is tapping on the cost center spinner, and that's it. And I should mention, so the cost center spinner is also an ID on my checkout screen page, which I define as such. So for instance, if this changes at the future for whatever reason, all I have to do is change this one line, and everything else propagates upwards towards everything. It's really nice for maintenance. And finally, actually, I could show you. So select cost center spinner. So tap on is also, I'm wrapping some Calabash. I have a base class, which is useful for everything that is common amongst all the screen classes. Like if there's some common action that I feel should be reusable, then I put it here and I wrap it into my own methods, that if sometime in the future, if Calabash changes wait for element 2 and not something else, I could just change it right here. And that's it. And then I run the test, and then I don't know if you guys, this is just the emulator we run on, and it executes inside this device. I think that's it. That's all I have to show.
Okay. Thank you, Daniel. I really liked the presentation and everything. So let's see if anybody has a question. We have a list of questions from Farzine, but before going through them, I'd like to know if anybody else has any question.
Daniel, I would like to know, in your previous slide, you showed me a regular expression for the Java method, right? There was a slide.
Yep, this one.
Here, I'd like to know how you're passing your test data to this method. Is there any way you're passing your test data?
This is not my code. I got this from the website, but there's no. You can create steps that pass data if you want. If you have different parameters, you can put it as like a number in the sentence. I'm not sure if I understand completely your sentence, your question, but all this is doing is matching your English to an actual implementation of a step. So there's no what happens next is what you actually want the test to do. All it's doing so is matching a step to the execution.
Oh, okay. This means like for every sentence, I need to write a new method, or like for can this be like reusable? Like,
yes, it is reusable. So any step that you write once can be reused in any other test. So if you have different, like a test and then a very slightly different test that does almost the same thing, but like just a slightly different, you can reuse a lot of the same sentences that you did before. It's just like a Lego block. I like to refer to it like that. Every step is a Lego block, and then you construct it in different ways. So you make one test this way, another test the other way, and maybe a third test has almost 90% of the steps are already automated, and then it has a new sentence that hasn't been automated yet, and you construct a new test, you write it out, so then you implement the last remaining step.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Other questions? Okay, I can ask one.
Okay.
Okay, so two questions. One is similar to what Bala asked, I think. Let's say you want to write a test that only works with the cart.
Mm-hmm.
Do you need to prepare all the data needed for that test every time? I mean, what I mean is that is it possible to quickly have an order in the cart?
Yeah. So I have, where is it? Support.
It's basically about the test data.
So I have a definition. This support folder, when you run Cucumber, it's loaded first. This is just the way that Cucumber works, and you have this little script. So before any scenario, I instantiate my global app. This is what you see in all of my step definitions, and I also have a REST class here, which I use to delete the cart before I start any test that has the cart tag. That way, I can make sure that you can use this way to do what you want before any scenario starts. You can have also tear down, and there's another step that I don't have here, but you can say around is another keyword that while a test is running itself, you can run a test with different data. So one with like I don't know, sample data, something, and then like you can run a test itself several times in a row based on a tag or based on any criteria that you want. So there's a lot of flexibility about how you run your tests and the data that you set up that way.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, again, for creating let's say an order in in a cart, I'm not sure if you call it an order, but then you need to define steps again, and then use those steps here in the page what do you call these files, in the support files, Ruby files that you have, and run them before each test. That's what you're saying.
No, I mean, like you can, so for my cart, I have tests like this, and then I add items to my cart inside the test itself. Or you can have a background step that runs before every scenario in the file. So if I need a set up my data this way, then I can run the background. I just define it in the background. So like if every test in a feature file requires items in my cart, then I'll just put it in the background and it'll be executed before that. Or if you want to avoid having to run it before every test, you can use the hooks and detect a specific tag and know that it'll be put into the database that way.
Nice.
There's a few ways you can do it.
Okay. Before I ask my second question, I'd like to know if anybody else has any other questions. Okay, apparently not. So I asked the same question that I asked yesterday from Fred. How many people in your team know how to work with Ruby?
Right now, it's just me. But I mentioned that other people are writing the tests themselves, so I don't know if I could find one quickly, but there are, oh, here's one right here. There's a manual. This is a test that was probably written by our technical writer or by our previous stagiaire when they were just starting out. Like, if there's no time to automate something, then they could just write the test in English. And you can see that 2 of these steps are not defined in my code, but 2 of them are. And these are reusable steps from other parts of the file and others. So you can have a mix of manual or not yet automated steps and automated steps. So that could be a progression over time where somebody starts out just writing manual tests and then learns the language.
That's really cool. Okay, but the main intention was that if God forbid you get sick tomorrow, if anybody can maintain the test, because let's say they want to define a new step, or let's say they want to write the Calabash, part of it at the bottom of the things. I just wanted to know if there are enough number of people in your team, and in general in any team, we should see if there are enough number of people who can do that.
So because I chose Ruby, and it's a little special in our team because we're using 3 languages now. So we have Objective-C and Swift now, actually 4, and so Java and now Ruby for the testing. So it's kind of difficult to get across team compatibility of the same language inherently. But I could have potentially used Java to start with. Ruby is a pretty easy language to learn, and it doesn't require compilation, which is nice. It's just like JavaScript from Fred's presentation there. Yeah. So it's quite easy to just read out, and it doesn't take a lot of ramp up, obviously, because I was able to. So yeah, but you are right. There's just right now it's just me. Victor, who was on our team recently, was also after a few months, had gotten proficient enough to write tests completely independently. So it doesn't take too much time to get somebody proficient, right?
Yeah. Okay, so those were my questions. I have the list for Zine, but before going through the list, is there any other questions?
That's a question.
Ready.
Yeah, just a question. I saw you have a lot of steps. Like, for example, I have an item in my cart. How do you know you are not duplicating those stuff in your code? What's the strategy you're using to make sure there's no duplications?
Like the step, I have an item in my cart. If I don't write
for example, you have the step already, and some guy claims he just writing his own step is duplicated. How to avoid these situations?
So I'll show you. There's auto completion. So if I do and then I just type cart, like I get a list of existing steps. So then I could look at the one that so I have an item in my cart. this is something that already exists. I just click it, and now I have this existing step. This is where the IDE comes in really useful.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
That is nice. Daniel, do you have anything else to mention before I go to the list?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. So I think some of these questions, or I think maybe most of them, you have answered already during the presentation or after that. But
I anticipated.
in any case, I will just go through the list. The first question is, what happens if the UI changes?
Yeah, so that's where the screen objects come into play. So this is totally up to you. Let's see if I could show it on the checkout screen. Well, let me add something to the cart first. So on the checkout screen, there's all these things are elements on the page. So each one of these has IDs in Android, like this box, this question box, whatever, right? And then I assign something that's I need to work with. I create an element association with it. So I make my own local variable, and then I define this is what it, this is the ID on the page that it refers to. And then whenever I deal with it, I always refer to the variable name, and then that propagates upwards towards my checkout steps, etc., and then the feature file. So I only have to change it in one place. So let's say this becomes account payment spinner, I don't know, 2, like that. Then I only have to change it in that one place, right? And then everything else is fine. And that's really nice because maintenance can be hell otherwise.
Yeah, okay. So this is like page object, but you call it a screen object?
Yes, yeah, it's equivalent.
Cool. I just add a little to these questions, to discussion about maybe what he meant was that if there is a change, how do you find out if everything is fine? You run the test, and then if it fails, and then you go and and change the method of that screen, that whatever, or the element on that screen. But there is no other way that you can find beforehand, right?
Well, I mean, we have a CI system that runs smoke tests every commit. So every branch that we have in Git is linked to running the smoke tests. And if those come back red, then so theoretically a developer should notice that and say, oh, my last commit just broke something. And then that's the fastest that we have.
Yeah, that is the process. So there is a change, there is a failure, and then there is a maintenance or a change in your test. Okay, cool. Okay, so the second question is, how many tests do you have? I remember that you have a slide that talks about the unit test and the UI.
Yeah,
so maybe you could show it again.
Yeah, so we have about 130 unit tests and 60 UI for Android, and 110 unit tests and 40 UI for iOS. Okay.
I add one more question here. How do you make sure that you're not duplicating tests that are being done at the unit level, which is it should be really rare, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the unit tests are very basic stuff. We don't have that much integration to begin right now. This is why I did most of the integration / user story testing when the project was first starting out. Now we're getting more towards a convergence from both sides. We haven't really encountered that issue though. Unit tests are basically testing that the backend calls are working, essentially, and I'm testing that the user flow, the story of the feature is working properly from a user's perspective. So it's a slightly different coverage, I would say.
I understand. Okay. The next question is who, I think you already answered this one as well, who maintains the test cases?
So yeah, that's me.
That's you, okay. Daniel, that's the answer, okay. And the next question is, how easy is maintaining the test cases?
That's the same thing that we just, like, as the UI changes, this this is where the first thing we would look at. So if an element is not
found.
found.
So because you're using the screen object, so that the changes are minimal in your test, which is really
I would say it's fairly easy. And if, for instance, let's say the logic of the feature changes, you would just have to rearrange maybe some sort of the steps themselves. And if you need a new step, then that becomes a little bit more time consuming. But once you have a good vocabulary of steps established in your project, writing a new test actually doesn't take that much time, because you just construct a new one based off what you've already worked on. I mean,
nice.
that's really, you ramp up. Like, definitely I see it myself. Like, at the beginning, I had to write every step. I had to but now I have a really large existing sets of steps ready to go. So if I needed to write a new thing for the cart screen, then that wouldn't be very hard.
Okay, cool. So the next question, also you answered it already. How does the test data cleanup work? So one was using the hooks that you showed, I guess?
Yeah, that's the hooks. Where is it? Yeah, so this is before and after, and this is, you can even define what your environment looks like. This is really, there's lots of places in Cucumber that allows you to set up exactly the way that you need to set up. It's built for that way.
Okay, nice. The next question is, in order to implement it, what learnings need to be done?
I would suggest for me, I just dove in and I started learning Ruby that way. You don't need to use Ruby, as I mentioned. It has lots of support for other languages. So if you already know a language and your project is working exclusively in that language, like JavaScript or Java, then you don't need to learn anything that you don't already know. All you need to do is get familiar with how Cucumber works.
Okay, so I wrote Ruby and other languages are supported as well, but then you need Calabash?
Calabash is what I use to interact with my application, but if you have a website, then you're not going to use Calabash. You're going to use something like Selenium, or Capybara is something that is it's another tool to interact with websites. It's just, there's lots of things that exist out there that hook into Cucumber, or you don't even need to use Cucumber at all. It's really a nice approach that everything is modular. Basically, you can use what you want. And
I agree, but what I'm going to write is for your case in your team probably. I mean, I wrote Ruby, other languages are supported as well, and then Calabash and Cucumber. Is that good?
Yeah, for my team, that's true.
Okay, cool. Cucumber. Okay, the next question is, okay, this is an easy one. Supporting browsers.
Oh,
which is not the case for your team.
Yeah, it's not applicable, but it supports, like if you hook into Selenium, whatever Selenium it supports, it's whatever tool you use at the bottom.
I see. Okay, cool. So next question is, I think it means, can this approach be leveraged to be used by partners?
So that's what I'm working on. I'm trying to get it more generic so it's very simple for, like, the idea is that we would deliver our SDK and then you'll be able to just develop our SDK and run tests, but it's not there yet. I don't have enough bandwidth to both automate and deliver it yet, but I'm working on trying to get it more generic so that anybody could just run this out of the box with a few simple commands.
Okay, nice. So the next question is, how do you know if the test exactly reflects the test scenario?
So that's the main philosophy of Cucumber, is that when you're defining the stories in your Scrum groomings, or PO is just telling you how the feature is supposed to work, then you could theoretically use that opportunity to write the test even before development in the sprint has started. And that way you have a clear communication of what is supposed to happen in the different conditions. I mean, I don't even have that on my team, but that's what the ideal of Cucumber is supposed to be, where you have a PO, you have a developer, and a QA all writing a story together before the story even starts development. And then it fails immediately, obviously, and then you fix it as the sprint progresses. So this is the BTD approach, right? Or TDD.
You meant TDD, okay. So the next one is, what is the difference between this technology and YTF?
I never used YTF. Actually, I think I tried it for like a day, and I was like, nope. So, I don't have too much experience.
Maybe you could tell us what was wrong with YTF.
It was just very difficult to get it to work with, I mean, Android. Obviously, I was a bit of special cases, and I was starting the project out using on the Android project, because we didn't have an iOS, or anyways, it was a long time ago. I couldn't get it to work, and then I saw that this was a very, Calabash was a very popular tool to use in the community testing Android applications, and that was hooked into Cucumber, and then I just went from there.
Okay, I'm just finding it. Okay, cool. So the last one is, what is the biggest issue you faced using this approach?
So the biggest issue is that some tests are unreliable, they're flickering, and some tests break because of timing issues or network issues, because our app interacts with the backend server across the network, and we know how reliable our network is here at Hybris. Sometimes things take longer than they usually do. So tests fail because they don't find an object when they're expecting one. Like it's still communicating. And because of that, the trust in the test set is low. It's lower. It's not 100%. There's not absolute trust because we think, oh, it's just a network problem. Oh, I'll just run it again. So that's a big issue, actually, and I'm kind of bummed about it because it means the developers don't trust what the BI system says. If it's red, like, they don't care as much as they should, I feel. That's my personal opinion.
Okay.
But this is fixable. I mean, if something is not reliable, then maybe it should just be removed from your test set. Maybe your coverage is enough in other places. So these are more philosophical stuff. Like, it's not specific to the...
I'm writing that you're working on making it more reliable.
Okay.
As well, at the end, okay.
Yeah.
Reliable. Okay, so I think those were the questions that we had. And what time is it? Okay, we're on time, I guess. I have one more question again, because you talked about this, the philosophy of behind Cucumber. How much value did it bring to your team in terms of communication?
It's good because like I take the story that is defined by the PO, and then I write tests that are almost directly translated from the words that he's used, and then when I run the tests, I essentially should be seeing what the feature is, and it brings out bugs. Like, it actually has brought that value. It shows so when the developer has misunderstood what it's supposed to be doing, then I code it that way.
I understand. I just make my question a little more clear. Let's say, because you started with this technology, right? Let's say we have a team that is looking for this. So we have a team that has a communication problem. They have a communication problem with the team. The PO says something, QA understands something else, and developer understands something else.
Right.
So do you think Cucumber by itself can solve the communication issue, or because your team was already good in communication, this also helped in improving the communication?
So I won't say that I'm absolutely 100% sure that they could, but the idea is that you're supposed to hash these things out beforehand. And using the Cucumber approach is where the three of them get together, and then they clarify. And I've read the people who develop Cucumber they write lots of little anecdotes about this, and they say that they've helped teams clarify this stuff. this is the way that they are meant to operate, is that you get the idea to the tester and the developer at the same time, and then together you determine what the actual thing should do. And you say, oh, developers can point out, oh, that's actually not possible. Then you refine it, or the tester says this will be too hard to test, etc. You get that conversation happening. That's the ideal, right? I don't even have that on my team, but
okay. No, that's a good answer, I guess. Okay, so those were the questions that we had from the list, along with one more question. So, any other questions? Do you have anything else to add, Daniel?
No, I feel like in my ideal world that this would be done. Excuse me, would be done during like the Scrum groomings if we were to integrate it into the Agile, so that during the story presentations, then we could write out the test ahead of time. But that requires a lot of like initial investment of like trying to be, let's see, like the PO has to be on board, the developer has to be on board, and so the tester needs to like push this. So it's not so easy. I tried it once, it didn't sort of work out, but like, you know, it takes practice. Like anything, it won't just happen. You need to. So that's the last thing I would mention, is that if you want to do this as like a BDD process, then you need to try to figure out how to integrate it into your like Scrum ceremonies, you know. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So on that note, I think we can wrap up the meeting. Thank you again, Daniel, for the presentation. Really useful. Tomorrow we will have another session at 10 o'clock. My understanding is that Stefan mentioned that he will not be available. So the next one in the list is Giancarlo and myself. So if he is available, tomorrow we'll do a UI test, the UI test in B2B, which is based on Spring and Selenium. So that's it. Thank you guys for attending this session, and have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye.